Yo, this is Sparing Myself the Pain, a rundown of all the negative things that I'll miss out on by being a marriage free and child free woman. Let's get into it. Painful thing number 11, domestic violence. Domestic violence in this day and age has me very worried, troubled, and stressed out. I mean, it's bad enough to be in a situation where your, partner, spouse, whatever, is beating the shit out of you, treating you like garbage, and law enforcement does nothing about it. It seems like almost every other week there's a story of some woman being murdered because, previous instances of domestic violence were just ignored or just not taken seriously enough, like being denied restraining orders and things like that. It's like cops don't care, judges don't care, nobody cares until there's, a body and a funeral. And that's some bullshit. That is some bullshit. I mean, if you survive a domestic violence situation, you still have other things to worry about, like getting out of that situation, finding somewhere else to live, and it's not always that easy depending on the cost of living. Now imagine being in a city like Los Angeles, New York, places where the cost of living is just absolutely obscene. And then you're trying to find new living arrangements in order to get away from this psycho, but you know you really can't because you can't afford it. You have to be wealthy to live in those cities. Now, if you live in a smaller city or in a rural area, it might be easier. Might be. That's a strong might. But if you're living in a small town where everybody knows everybody, there's a possibility that the monster that you're trying to get away from has friends in high places. Consider it. You're living in a town of maybe 20, 30,000 people. That's not a lot. And your husband or whatever is friends with the chief of police, or he's friends with the judge, friends with, the people who can really make your life even worse. That would be some bullshit. And if there are children involved, you would have to, deal with whatever issues they develop because of it. If they need counseling, if they need therapy. Okay, if you have to move and they might have to be moved to a new school and, lose their friends, be moved away from neighbors that they've grown attached to, possibly even move away from extended family that they're used to seeing on a regular basis. And that could make the situation even worse for them to, witness this violence perpetrated against their mother by their father, and now their whole support network is just gone. They're just being uprooted and thrown into a new social situation with a bunch of strangers. And of course, if they develop behavioral issues or if they act out at school because of it, then teachers and school staff can be assholes, very apathetic. There are some teachers out there who just act like kids are just naturally bad. Not even caring what kind of situation they have going on at home. And then of course there's the social aspect. If your friends are friends with your ex, that would definitely be an ex in my case. No way would I stay in a relationship with someone like this. But if you have a shared friend group with your ex, that could make things kind of awkward, depending on whether or not they actually believe you. If they, feel forced to choose sides, especially if there's no video, if there's no video footage or any, hard evidence of any wrongdoing, they might just brush it off as you overreacting or being too sensitive. Because people are like that. People they like to make things easy for themselves. If brushing something like this is under the rug, it's easier for them than having to choose sides and pick friends, then that's what they'll do. Because people suck, if you haven't noticed. Now you're having to uproot your whole life in order to get out of this situation, And that could cause some money problems. It's possible. There are shelters that exist specifically for women who are trying to escape domestic violence and domestic abuse. That's why those shelters exist, because in cases where you have stay-at-home moms who end up trapped in a relationship with a complete piece of shit because he has all the economic power. He's putting restrictions on that the money that she has access to. He's putting bills on auto pay and only having one account and not sharing his debit card or his PIN. And I've said it once and I'll say it again, being a stay-at-home mom with no other income is a bad idea. It is a terrible idea. And this is exactly why. If you're a stay-at-home mom with no income and you really need to get it out of that situation as quickly as possible, where would you go? If you don't have any close family or close friends nearby who are willing to help, then where would you go but to a shelter? And it's like you can't take all of your personal belongings to a shelter. In some cases, they only allow you to bring your clothes and like your hygiene items. So that's a shitty situation to be in. And I wish that women would have better sense than to get involved with men who show signs of abusive behavior before the papers are signed. I'm not saying that all these women are stupid. I know that men, well, people in general, can be very deceptive. They can be two-faced, and they won't actually show that side of themselves, their real self, until after the wedding and sometimes after the birth of a first child. But in some of these cases, these men are upfront about being abusive assholes. Okay, if you're in a boyfriend girlfriend type of situation and this dude is yelling at you, screaming at you, cussing you out, invading your personal space with their finger all in your face, pushing you up against the walls, those are warning signs. In the relationship, then don't let it escalate until he's giving you black eyes and knocking your teeth out. Have some self-respect. Care about yourself. You are allowed to care about yourself. Yeah, these are like just some of the issues around domestic violence that really stand out for me. And it's just not something that I would ever be willing to put up with. I won't put up with any kind of disrespect anyway. If I was in a relationship, even if it's just a boyfriend girlfriend type of thing, that I would let anybody be disrespectful, yelling at me, calling me out of my name or anything like that. No, I would rather just be single. It's not worth it. I value myself too much. So yeah, marriage free, child free, never having to deal with any of this bullshit here. Remember, your life is yours to live, and you don't have to explain yourself to anyone ever.